Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Kuf Gimel Amud Aleph 103a1. Says the Gemara. We were talking about right now where it says that we're talking about a Sachid. Amar lehu Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Yochanan Tanitua, we already learned it. Sachid bizmano nishba v'notel, which means somebody that's doing the melacha and he's asking for the money from the balabait. If it's in the proper time of the payment, he swears and he takes the money from the balabait. Sachiru diramu rabbanan shualei. The sachid has to make the shavua because the balabait is taru bepoalav. He's busy with all the different workers that he has. Aval hacha, but over here, socher meheman. The socher is going to be believed bishvua. Exactly. Why? Because since the balabait is so busy, because usually, right, technically speaking, the balabait should swear and then he should be patur. But here, since the balabait is so busy with his workers, we flipped it. It's on the worker. He swears and then he takes the money. Says the Gemara. Amar Rav Nachman. Says Rav Nachman. Imagine right now you come and you rent out your house for 10 years. And he writes shtara, a document, right? And the document is on this. But he doesn't say when does it start or when does it finish. He's saying, I'm renting you out for 10 years, right? This property, but he didn't say when's the start date or the termination date, the finishing date. So it tells the socher, Nikit chamesh shanim, right? You already lived 5 years. So you only have 5 years left. Right? The socher says, no, I was only there 3 years. So I've got 7 years left. Meheman, he's believed to take out the socher after 5 years. Because any doubt in the field, right? Okay, fine. Right? Exactly. Right? Anything to do with anything to do with the karka, by the way, Richard. It's anything to do with land. Right? So what does that mean? A field is land. Anything to do with land, karka, he's got the upper hand. Why? Because it's in the chazakah that it's his. It's like a metaltalin, something else, a movable object that it could go from hand to hand. This is a chazakah, it's his. So therefore he's believed. So Amale Ravacha Midivti Ravina says Ravacha Midivti to Ravina Elemeata. We're going to ask the following question. What happens right now if he's going to come and he's going to borrow, right? Or look, let's do the other way around. He lends his friend 100 zuz, and he has a shtar. The Amaleh tells him, "Peraticha palga, I paid half." Right? So he says, "Are you going to tell me now? Hachanami de meheman? Are you going to tell me now that he's going to be ne'eman?" Right? Why? That the malveh is ne'eman, not the right, not the loveh. So now, why is it like that exactly? Right? So he comes and he says, right, because he has to pay back with the din, or he has to receive a receipt. So it doesn't work in any other way. So he comes and he says, Amaleh, he answers, Hachi Asha, can you compare both cases? Hatam over there, Shtar leguvainaka. Right? Basically, the document is to collect. And if it was that he actually paid it up, he should write on the document, Inami or write a shova, write a receipt. But over here, Amaleh, he comes and he tells him, why did I actually write you a shtar? In order that you cannot come and have a chazakah on me on the house, and not in order to bring a proof of collection or not. And therefore, it's on the socher to bring a raya, right? How many years he was in there. Meaning, usually, right? Usually, the document in itself is already a proof against the other guy. So, for example, I come and I lend you $100. Afterwards, right? You come and you say, you pay back 50. So now you're not going to be believed. Now, why are you not going to be believed? It's very simple. A receipt or on the actual debt document itself, you should have written out. Why did you write it down? So therefore, obviously, it's not true. Okay, fine. What is the reason why you wrote the document of the shtar on the karka? Exactly. So therefore, since right now, the only reason, you write in the shtar, I paid you back half of the amount. Now here, since the only reason why you're writing the shtar is only that you don't have a chazakah on it, and not to prove to you, right, about what's going on, it's just, one more time, the guy is 10 years. How much is the chazakah? 3 years. So 3 years is a chazakah. If there's no document, after 3 years, he comes to me and he says, hasta la vista. It's mine. So I didn't want that. So what do? I wrote a document. Yeah. So what do? I write a document. And that document is now showing it's a rent. It's a rental agreement. Now, the truth is, though, but 1 second, is it used as a proof of payment or not payment? No. In the case of the money, it was used as a proof of payment, right? What does that mean? It was a proof there was a loan. And if you, where's your proof? Here, what's the proof? What's the proof? That I used it for 3 years? I used it for 5 years. So therefore, the guy that's renting it out, right? He doesn't have to bring the proof. So if it's on the renter, the onus is on the renter that he has to come and he has to actually say, right? He has to bring a proof how many years he was there or not there. Okay? That's what he says over there. He says, in Ita, if it's going to be over there, right? That the guy is going to come and he's going to pay, he should show the document that it was written on the document or the shovar or the receipt. Here, he could just say, the reason why I wrote you a shtar is just that I don't want your chazakah. And therefore, not in order that you should have a raya to come and to collect from me. And therefore, the socher has to bring a raya. How many years is left? So Amar of Nachman says of Nachman, Shoel Adam betuvo leolam. What does it mean betuvo? Meaning, yeah, it's like leolam, which means that I come and can you lend this to me, but indefinitely. Now he's saying the betuvo means leolam, and therefore he comes and he says, as long as the keli is usable, I'm allowed to just use it whenever I want, right? So he says, even if I come in, I don't have to. I'm zakai. Why? Because I could ask it from you again. Because ki'ilu, once I told no, because once he asked him betuvo means as long as it's good. Amar Rav Mari Berea de Bat Shemuel. Says Rav Mari the son of Bat Shemuel. Vehu de kani mineh. This din is the emet only if there's a kinyan. That's what I told you. There had to be a yitchayvut in a kinyan. But if he just borrowed it without any kinyan, no, that's it. He gave it back. He can just borrow it whenever he wants. Right? So as I told you, there had to be a kinyan done. So Amar Rav Mari Berea de Ravashi. Umehade lekateh. When it breaks, and now you can't use it anymore, he has to give him back the handle. Right? The broken pieces.
By receiving Shita is not a kinyan.
No, that is a kinyan. Yeah, well, yeah, you have to do a sudar. No. But the Masechet is not it has to be done as a kinyan sudar. That's what he said. Without kinyan sudar, there's no shlichut. That's what he says here. Because if not, then he doesn't acquire the fact that it's leolam. Okay? Amar Rava comes and he says, somebody comes and tells his friend, Oshlan marad lebirpak bei ay pardesa. Please lend me this. They call it a sickle. What was the word again? The hoe. That's what it was. HOE. Right? The hoe. La adorable pardesa in order to come and to get this orchard. Rafik be pardesa. So he comes. He says, okay, to do the entire thing only. He's not allowed to do it for another one, for another orchard. I mean, he could only hoe this orchard and not another one. Pardesa, if he says a pardes, right? He didn't say which one. Rafik be he could do anyone. Right? Why? Because at the end of the day, but he said pardisa. If he says pardisei, which is plural, so then, right, he says Rafik vaz the he could come and use any pardes that he has. And then when he comes and he has to give back, he just gives back the handle if it broke in between or whatever it is. Haman of Papa says, somebody comes and he tells his friend, Oshlan Nahai Garguta, please lend me this Ber Maim Hayim in order to, meaning a well, in order that I could give water for my fields. Venafla, the walls, right, fell, and therefore it got closed, right? You don't have the well anymore. Lo banile, he's not zocher to build it new, right? Meaning to come and to build it, then he's able to use it, right? Why? Because the guy could come in and say, I only lent you the first well, not the second one. Garguta, if he said Garguta, right? Because the first one he said this Garguta. Now he's just saying Garguta, a well. He didn't say, no. One more time. The owner comes and the guy asks him, can I use your well, this well, in order to water my fields? He starts using it. It fell. Now the guy, what he wants to do is, he wants to build it back up. The borrower, build it back up in order to continue using it. The owner could tell him, I apologize. I only lent you this well. If you're going to build a new one, it's like a new one. I don't allow you to use that water. Says the Gemara, but if he said garguta, not this garguta, he said garguta, a well. So v'nafla, and then it fell. Banile, he could just build it, and then he could continue using the same well. Bei garguta, a place to build a well. Kari ve'azil kama gargute bareh. He could come and he could just start digging as much as he can until he actually gets the water. So he just comes and he just gets it. But again, you need to do a kinyan. Fine. Mishnah. We said before, Khalipin. Suda. Says like this, Mishnah. If you're going to rent out a house to a friend and it falls during the time period, you have to give him another house until the end of the rental period. Haya katan, if the house is small, lo yasenu gadol, right? You shouldn't give him a big one, right? Why? Because he could say, I don't want to live in a big house. I want a small house. You understand? Now people will tell you, what? Does there exist? Do you know that it was incredible? We had somebody, right? We had somebody over and they said something which is very, very interesting. And it had to do with the fact that, and again, we're not talking about meaning they weren't religious. It wasn't because of religious reasons. They went and they said, I would never want a 2-story house. So right away, my wife tells her, why not? You know, like, why wouldn't you? She goes, no, because then they're never part of the family. What does that mean? Kids come home. They want to do their homework. Where do they go? They go to the room. Where's the room? Upstairs. They want to do, well, everything's on a different floor. You're never together. You're never together. Right? You're never together.
Have you lived in a 2-story house?
What?
Have you lived?
So says the Gemara, says the Mishnah, when we're talking about Katan, lo yasenu gadol, so he doesn't want a big house. Gadol, you should make him a small house. Echad, one house. Lo yasenu shnayim, don't make 2 different rooms. 2, don't make a 1. Lo yivchol min hachalonot, you cannot make less windows. Lo yisiv elem, but you can add windows. Ela midat shnehem, unless it's going to be both of them together, which means, right, there's a scam, there's an agreement, right, between this house and the other house, meaning that you can start, you don't make less windows because the guy wants real sunlight, you understand? But it's such a need, right, the other way around as well. Says the Gemara, what's the case exactly? If he told them, I'm renting you out by this house, nafal, if it falls, azale, so kaddish, what do you want then? I rented you out this house, it fell, gamarnu. If he told them by stam, a regular house, right? So echad, if it's only 1, why can't he make it 2? Right? Let's say it's only 1 room. Why can't he make it a 2-bedroom? If it's small, why can't he make it big? I only told you a house. I didn't tell you this one, so I could do whatever I want then. So Amar Rashakish says Rashakish, the Elmaleh that he tells him, the house that I'm going, it's how many meters? I told you how many meters. So now I cannot change that. Right? So the truth is though that it still doesn't make 100% sense because I could make you the same meters, but just divide the house differently in 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. Right, but okay, that's what he's saying until now. Yeah. So he says,
oh,
it doesn't say that. Yeah. Yeah. If so, my memra. So obviously it's pashut. It says no. I'm going to rent you a house like this. So says okay, fine, but still, what's the chidush? It's by the river edge, the river banks. So I would have thought say my kazeh, the kaya gudu that has to be on the river banks. Kamashvalan, no. Meaning it was on the water. So I would have thought to say that it has to be on the water. Kamashvalan, no, I'm going to give you a regular house in the thing, not on the water. Hadran Allah, Chapter 9, Perek Teshii. Yeah, 9th chapter. Kuvgimel Amud Aleph on the bottom. Mishnah. Hamkabel sadeh mehavero. If you're going to receive a field from your friend, with as an arisut, remember a sharecropper or chakirut, which means it's like a type of a rental. Makom shenagu liktzor, yiktzor, la'akor, ya'akor, laharosh, harav, yaharosh, which means everything depends upon the minhag. If the minhag is that you're going to come and you're going to reap it, and you're not going to uproot from the shoresh, so that's what you have to do. You have to reap it. You're not allowed to uproot it from the shoresh. If the minhag is to uproot it, so you're allowed to uproot it, right? And therefore he can't say anything. Why? Because that's a minhag. If it's going to be the minhag lachrosh acharav, which means that after the katsira akira, you're going to come, you're going to plow it. So you have to plow it. Hakol keminhag medina. Everything goes according to the medina. Keshem shecholkim batevua, kach kolkim bateven uvakash. just like they're going to come and they're going to divide, right, a field and everything with the grains, so too they're going to divide it in tevin, right, which is basically that which you already cut off from the shiva, that you separated the chaff from the I don't know how you say it, right, the food from the kernels from the chaff, uvakash, and also from the straw. Just like you're going to come and you're going to divide the wine, so too you're going to be cholek, right, 103b. So too you're going to come and you're going to do in the zimorot uvakanim. The zimorot is going to be the, how do you call this, the to prune the grapes, the branches.
Canes.
Okay, I guess
Branches in the cane.
Yes, exactly. Right? So he says over here, right? We're talking about okay, the last year. Ushnehem. Now both of them, whether we're talking about the sharecropper or the owner of the field, mesapkin takanim. They're going to come and they're going to be misapek together the entire year. The kanim, how did they translate? Which one was the zimorot was the branches, no? Yes. And the second one is the canes. Canes what? C? Oh, the sugar canes. Okay, the canines, yes. Okay, fine. The canes. Fine. Says the Gemara. Gemara on Kufnu Kufgim Amud Bet. Tana, we learned to the Braita. Makom shenagu likzor enu rashay la'akor. La'akor rashay likzor. Ushnehem, and both of them, meaning each one could be me'akev, the minhag medina. Why? Because if somebody is going to deviate, it's going to come and it's going to change from minhag ha, right, ha medina. Likzor eno rashai likzor. So he says, what does that mean? Hayamar, he comes and he says, Ba'ina de titbelni arai. Right? He comes and he says like this. He says, when it says that it's going to be reaping, you're not allowed to come and you're not allowed to uproot it. He says, 1 second, why? Because the Bala Sadek could come and tell the guy, during the time, I want that it should still stay in the ground, even after the reaping. Why? Because then it's going to be grow from it, right? I don't want to completely uproot it. But and he says, Lo Matzina, I can't be okay legamre. Why? Because it's much easier to reap than to uproot. And therefore, I don't want to uproot it. Right? We could tell him, we're talking about I want that my field should be completely clean, right? That it doesn't need any fertilizer. Hayamari could tell him, I still want tevin for my animals, and therefore, if I'm going to come and I'm going to reap, and I'm going to still leave the canes in the ground, right? So therefore, I can't prepare the grain, right? Meaning, basically, we're trying to explain why each one it has a ta'ana, and each one has a claim against the other one. Ushebat, at the end of the day, we go like minhag medina. So he says, Ushnehem me'akvim ze al ze, right? And both of them are going to be ma'akev. Lamali, why do I need this? Matam kama. Says the Gemara, it's a matam. What does that mean? Matam likzor nashai lakol nashai likzor. Mishum deshnehem me'akvim ze al ze. Because both of them are going to be me'akvim. So since both of them are going to be me'akvim, you have to do the minhag medina. Fine. 2 dots. Lacharosh acharav. We're talking about now doing harisha. So says the Gemara. Right, we're talking about if the minhag was to do harisha to plow, so you plow afterwards. Shita, obviously. We already said this. So he says, no, we're talking about a place where they do not come and they do not uproot the bad, like the weeds, right? And therefore he comes and he says, and he came and he actually did that. So I would have thought to say, Elmaleh, you could tell him, the reason why I did it, is because I did not want to come and to be choresh afterwards. Meaning, I didn't want to plow because I took away the weeds. And once I took away the weeds, now I don't have to plow. Mashmuran comes to tell him, he has to tell him. Meaning, before doing such a thing, he has to tell him, listen, I'm going to take away the weeds, and therefore I'm not going to plow. Meaning that it had to be done on consent. It can't just be, I did it and that's it. No, so I'll do both. Okay? So now he comes and he says like this: Akol ki minhag medina, akol la'atu yemai. When it says everything goes according to the minhag medina, what is it coming to include? So he says la'atu yad etanu rabbanan, to exclude that which the rabbis taught. Makom shenagu le'askid lanot bekarka. Imagine right now there's a minhag to rent out a field, a sadet tivua that has trees. So therefore, also he gets the fruits. Maskirin, so he's going to get it. So he says, right? Makom she'en nagu laskid, emaskirin. So let's say he does not rent out the trees with the field. So therefore, the does not get the trees.
It's always better to specify.
100%. But technically speaking, we go, that's what it's coming to include. So makom shenagula askir maskinim pshita, obviously. If that's a minhag, that's a minhag. Says the minhag latzicha, what are we dealing with? Dechuli alma yave betilta. Everybody comes, all baalei akarka, they give it, right? They give it as for a shlish of the tevuah, meaning for a third of the tevuah. And this aris took 2/3 of the tevuah. The azil ihu, so then he went, the yave beriva, right? And he went and he took for that reva, the extra, and therefore he comes and he takes 3/4 of the tevuah. So they say, the reason why I took off is that because I don't have the ilanot. Which means it is. Let's say, for example, right, the normal wage is $10 an hour, but I have to give you lunch, right? All of a sudden, I come and I'm paying you 15. Now I'm not going to give you lunch. Now he's going to tell me, 1 second, but I want lunch. I'm going to tell you no. But the reason why I give you 15 not 10, if we're going like minhag medina, I'll give you 10. Why was I giving you 15? Because I'm not giving you lunch. Kamash Malan, that he had to explain it. And if he doesn't explain it, even though it's logical to say such a thing, Hakol keminhag hamedina. Says the Gemara, Makom shenagul shelo laskire maskinin, in a place where they don't rent out the trees, so they don't rent it out. See, obviously, everybody is receiving, right, reva, right, a quarter, and they're taking 3/4. Azili, when he came, he took a third instead of the quarter. So he took, instead of 25%, he took 33%, 33.33. Right? I would have thought, say, Elmaleh, you could tell him, well, the reason why I give you more is that you have to leave it, because you're giving me the alien. When it comes to teach you, exactly. Right? You should have said it. You have to explain it. You can't just, expect things. Fine. Next. Just like you're going to be cholek with the haris and balasdeh in the tevuah, so too you're going to be cholek and the teven and the kash. Amar Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, bevavel nehige telo yehive tivna la'arisa. He says in Bavel they have a minhag not to give teven to the haris. What does that mean? It's a minhag. Yeah, they don't give the grains to the sharecropper. But if there is somebody that does give, he's giving with a good eye. Meaning we're not going to learn from him. Meaning the fact that he gives, he's a nice guy. But not because of that we're going to learn something different. Amar of Yosef says of Yosef, right? Again, there's only one in a million. Yeah, he said, don't learn from him because the minhag medina is not. Minhag medina is to be like this. Iraqis, yeah. Minhag medina is like this. Minhag medina. But he says, if you see this Jew, right, this Jewish Iraqi, that he's Yotzei min haklal, who Yotzei min haklal. Yeah, Yotzei min haklal. There's exception to. There's always an exception to the rule. As I say, the exception to the rule. He's a Ain Yafa. Okay. That was nice trying, but you put your foot in it. Amar of Yosef says of Yosef, Bukhra. Yeah, the first afar, just like Bukhra is like a bechor, like a firstborn. So he says here Bukhra, which is the afar rishon, right, which they put around in order to make the gvul. The tafta is the afar which they add on the second time around. The arkavta, and the afar that they add on the third time. The kani v'keneh de chizra, right? And we're talking about now the kanim which they put on the ground. The balabait, they belong to the balabait, right? That means he has to put this. The chizra gufeh, but the kotzim themselves, right? The harisa is on the haris. Meaning, who has to put what? Who puts which fertilizer, right? So the first one, which is the first one which they put on the field in order to come and pick up the borders of the field, right? The tafta, which is that which they add on the second time around, and the third time around, right? And also these kanim, the balabait has to do that. But the chizra itself, right? That's going to be which goes around. Meaning, this is talking about the kotzim which go around the canes, right? These are the thorns which go around the canes. That is on the aris, on the sharecropper to do. Klala diminta, what's the general rule? Kol ikar balma, anything which is made for the shmira of the sadeh, which means for the safeguarding of the field, the balabait, it's coming up to him to do that. And tirata yetirata, but if you want an extra protection, darisata, that is the sharecropper that has to put the extra protection. The Amar of Yosef says of Yosef, Mara uzvila, right, which is again the hoe, the hoe and the shovel. Thank you. Hoe, H-O-E. Look it up. Yeah, he says, Amedar, right? He says, the davla, right? We're talking about now the davla, right? Which is a deli. It's like a bucket. Okay, vezarnuka, right? We're talking about now. How did you call it? Leather bottle, a flask, right? The balabait, it belongs to the bal abayit. Bala said that to put it. Arisa avid bi yeore. It's on the aris to come and to start digging, right? The charitzim, right? These which are like the furrows or the hollows, you know, like these trenches, irrigation ditches. Very good. Keshem shecholkim bayayin ka cholkim bizmorot uvekanim. Just like they divide in the wine, so too they're going to divide in the branches and the canes. Kanima, what's the connection now? Canes. Kanima muchlakin shebayim amidin v'tegenim. These are talking about that they took away the klipa in order that they should put the gifanim over there. Okay, so he says, 1 second, why do we need to say that both of them are going to be misapkim the kanim? So he says, matam kaman, it's to give a reason. Matam shneim chulukim kanim, what's the reasoning why both of them are going to be dividing in the kanim? Shum deshnehem misapkim the kanim, because both of them are going to come, they're going to be misapek the kanim.
למה דווקא שניהם הם בעל הבית? מקודם זה היה בעל הבית.
מה?
מקודם זה היה בעל הבית.
So there's a Mishnah, Kabel Sadeh Mechavero. Right? Mishnah on the bottom of Kuf Gimel Ubet, 103b Mishnah. Somebody that's going to come and is going to receive a field from his friend.
That's nice.
Vehi bet ashlachin. Right? And it's a karka which is yevesha, which means that it does not have enough rainwater. So obviously you have to give it the irrigation canal, irrigation water, in order to survive. Or betailan, or for trees. Trees, obviously, they need very much more. Okay? So he says over here, Yavesh Mayan, if it became dried, right? Or it was cut down the tree, you cannot come and take down the value of that which he was giving for the rent of the field. Okay? But if he told them, go do this, receive upon yourself this sadeh bet hashachin, or sadeh bet ilanze, there you could take down the price, because now it's not anymore the same thing that we mentioned beforehand. But obviously it doesn't have a tree, or it doesn't have the, there's no more mayan, there's no more irrigation canal, so therefore it's going to dry up. Okay? So says the Gemara, what's the case? If you're going to tell me now that the river got dried, right? Now, Rabba, we're talking about a big river. Why is he not going to take it off? Namely, you could say Makkah Medinahi. It's a Makkah Medina, which means that since it's the entire Medina, so therefore, Menakelo, he does take it down. Because it's something of everybody. It's not just on an individual, right? If it's on an individual, you could say, listen, it's your mazal. But if it's going to be Makkah Medina, it's everybody. So that everybody's in the same boat. So Papa says, Diavesh Nahara Zuta. We're talking about it was a small one, a small river that dried up. The Elmaleh that he could tell him, right? Ibai lach la'atuye bedavla. Right? We're on Kufdala the Mudalef, we're just getting to the 2 dots. He says, because you have to bring water with the pitcher. Go bring it with a bucket. Go bring water. So Amar of Papa says, Hani tarti matnite kamaita. These 2 first Mishnayot of the Perek, which is the first one, which is teaching us that Ma'akom nagul iktzor, which is Minhag Medina. And the second Mishnah also, which was basically Yavesh Ameyan or Nitzatz Ilan. Mashkach ala ben bechachrut or it doesn't matter whether it's kablanut, which is arisut, or bechakirut. Remember, there's a difference between kablanut, right, which is arisut, and chakirut. Arisut is you're a sharecropper, meaning according to what you take out of the field, you share with me, and that's your salary. So your salary is a percentage. It could be 33.33%, be 50%, be 25%, different wages in sharecroppers. The second one is called chakirut. What is chakirut? I come and I tell you, no, so I tell you like this. I tell you, listen, I'm going to rent out your field, and I'm going to give you a fixed rate. That's called chakirut. Okay, so he says whether it's chakirut or parisut, mikam ve'elach. In the next perek, deita bekablanut, it's only if it's going to be with parisut as a sharecropper and not in chakranut. But not the other. Meaning, in the first 2 mishnayot, it's both. It could be also sharecropper or chakirut or like a fixed wage. Right here, it's from now on, it's going to be one or the other, or sharecropper, not the other one, or the other one and not the sharecropper.
They call it your tenant farming.
Tenant farming. Great.